Greetings. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Book Report. This week's Book Report falls on July the 4th, and this is Independence Day in the United States, when we celebrate our country breaking away from the United Kingdom, a country which, well, did a very bad job of managing one of its great treasures, and if you look at the way things are going there now, they never really did learn their lesson. But enough of current affairs. Let's go back 249 years and talk about breaking away from the mother country, something that had never been done before, at least in the way it was being conceived of back then. Now, about a year ago, a young man told me something that I found not only unbelievably stupid, but out and out insulting. He was very cynical, and he was saying something along the lines of, the people that started this country were just a bunch of selfish old rich guys that just didn't want to pay taxes, and that was such a ignorantly stupid thing to say. I didn't want to get into an altercation with him. I just sat there and nodded my head. Okay. Americans are very, very much divorced from their history and their culture, which is one of the reasons things are such a mess these days. So I thought it would be a good idea to go back and not look at the Declaration of Independence or a bunch of men who have now become marble, but look to the people who actually did it and how they did it and who they were. There were more than 50 men who signed the Declaration of Independence. They were very wealthy. They had everything going for them, most of them. You didn't have any paupers in Philadelphia in 1776 talking about this. They were accomplished individuals who had been pushed too far, although it was not a cut-and-dry affair. Who were these men? Now, we know a few of them, of course. They're on our money. Benjamin Franklin, everyone knows about him. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, John Adams, a few others that we know. John Hancock, who is most famous for his signature, so much so that here in the United States, putting your John Hancock on something is a colloquial term for putting your signature on it. But who were the other guys that debated, that argued, that were scared out of their minds because if it didn't work, they were all going to die? And some of them did. So this is a book that everybody should get, and it costs nothing. If you go up to archive.org or especially the Gutenberg Project, you can get free copies of this. I downloaded mine for the grand total of 99 cents from Amazon onto my Kindle. It's a sacred text in many ways, which means you can read a few passages of it and then set it aside. What am I talking about? The signers of the Declaration of Independence, the collected biographies by an author named L. Carroll Judson. That was Levi Carroll Judson, who passed away a long time ago in 1865. The book was written in 1839, but is very readable. It's very readable. It's complete. It's the sort of book that a family would have back in the day when Americans were very, very proud of who they were, and it would be probably up on the shelf next to the family Bible and a few other things like the Federalist Papers, which is another group of documents Americans should read. But this is about the 56 men who bet everything and in many cases lost everything to create this very strange country and experiment that went on to be a beacon of light and inspiration to the entire world and all of human civilization. Now, it's a very simple book. It has a copy of the Declaration of Independence in there, which everybody should read. Very few people ever do, I notice. But it has a brief biography of all of the signers and what fate awaited them. What I like about books from this time in history is that they're written and they're readable, but they also have reverence. These were men who sacrificed a lot. Some of them vanished at sea. A lot of them were captured, tortured in some cases, lost their families, lost their fortunes, died in poverty, even though if they had just gone along with a ride, they would have lived out the rest of their lives in luxury and total peace, but they didn't do that. Nothing ever comes about that's worthwhile without somebody sacrificing something or giving something up or putting something into it. When you read this book, you go into how these men were so educated for the time. This is back in the day when you had breakfast in the morning with a book that you just got from Europe or something, or you taught yourself a new language. You know how many of these guys spoke several languages? Some of them knew Latin. Latin everybody had to know back then, practically. Greek, French, of course. A few of them knew Hebrew. Fascinating. But these are men that put it all on the line to create something that we take for granted today. So on this Independence Day, for the grand total of 99 cents, or free if you're a little more techno-savvy, you can download this book or buy the paperback. It's independently printed. I'm not sure who the publisher is, but you can get it for about $20 if you want a hard copy. I'll bet you some people have this out there in leather bound, but I couldn't find anything, and I couldn't find an audio book version of this as well. So maybe somebody should do that. That's an idea. There's another ritual that I would urge everybody to get into this day, and you can read it from this book. If you download it, you'll have it by lunchtime. Or you can download it from somewhere on the internet and print it out, is why don't you just sit down with your families and read from beginning to end the entire Declaration of Independence. If you have kids, have them read a few sentences in turn, just sit around a circle and read it. It's an interesting document, especially for the times we live in, because it was put together by men who had been pushed too far and were sick of dealing with not only tyranny coming out of the United Kingdom, and I'm sorry for my British listeners, but that's what it was, but it was incompetent tyranny. Nothing's worse than an incompetent tyrant. And that's exactly what the United Kingdom was at that time, and, well, you still have some issues there, folks. It's one of the reasons we left. But I would recommend reading that document today, but also read about the men who agreed to it, who fought over it. A lot of them didn't want to leave Britain. A lot of them didn't want to put their lives on the line. What was the line that Benjamin Franklin gave? We better all hang together or we're surely going to hang separately. That's what would have happened to them, except it probably would have been a lot worse, and I won't go into the graphic detail as to how British soldiers or British authorities dealt with what they perceived as treason back in the day. Let's just say it was something that a horror writer would probably find a little too graphic. Again, the book you want to get today and read today and have around when you complain about how bad everything is in the United States and how nothing is really worth it anymore and how nobody has senses of honor and all the other ills that you see in the headlines. It's called The Signers of the Declaration of Independence, Collected Biographies by L. Carroll Judson. The book came out in 1839, but it's high-tech as it gets. You can download it onto your Kindle. You can buy a paperback for about $20, and you can also get it for free in various locations, including the Gutenberg Project. So have some fun this July 4th. But also show some reverence to the men long dead who sacrificed everything to make it possible. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, and share. Share with your friends and share with your enemies, unless they fought against the United States coming into existence. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. This podcast originates at Substack. My handle there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember, keep reading and never judge a book by its movie. Good day.